Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Solar Factory. I'm Graham Banks from the Shut Up Play This Game podcast. This episode is going to focus on a pretty big rebuild. What you're looking at in front of you there is actually going to be gone. It's going to be dismantled completely, along with some other bits and pieces. We're going to remake my heavy modular frame production line. That's what episode 9 will focus on. In order to do that, we need to have a plan, and this is what I've got. I've got this document, just bring up a screenshot of it now so you can look at it. This is the plan. So heavy modular frames with a target of 12 per minute, which is what I was doing before. Broken it down into sections, so the first bit's got steel pipes making 180 a minute. That's required for the actual final manufacturers at the bottom. So they need 30 in each, and there's going to be 6 of them. Encased industrial beams, 60-minute total production. Needs 10 each machine. So I've got a bit of a typo there. That should be 15/10. So there's the 10 for each machine, and then 60 in total. Modular frames, again making 60 a minute total. 10 for each machine, 10 for each final manufacturer. I'm going to use the bolted frame alternative recipe for that one. It should make it a bit more efficient and take up way less space. So again, 10 frames per set of that setup to go into each machine. And then the last one is a whole bunch of screws. 1200 total for 200 each machine per minute total. So yeah, that's what's going to be the setup for. That's what I've got to build, is all this stuff. So multiple constructors, couple of foundries, several smelters, and that sort of thing. So that's the build. Before we can do that, we need to dismantle the previous setup. That setup, this bearing now, was making modular frames. Bottom left, just out of the shot, was the screw setup. This section was top left of where we just were, is currently making the steel pipes and encased industrial beams. But you can see it is now all gone. All right, so I've dismantled that entire setup. The time lapse I just showed you will demonstrate what that was like. Did it in 2 parts. Did the sort of iron area first. All those screws and rods and plates were being made, and the modular frames were being made. Then in a second one, did the steel encased industrial beams and steel pipes as a second dismantle process. All of that went into 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 containers. Got 9,000 beams, 15,000 concrete, 15,000 pipes. So yeah, got a bit to. We'll use that in the next build. Okay, so I've actually done a fair bit, but I'll come back to the main bit, what of the big work I've done. But there is the various conveyor belt runs into the main area, into the new factory. So we've got three coal miners there, iron ore miner there, another that's a limestone miner, iron ore, limestone, the big factory I'll come back to in a second, and then 1, 2, and 3 more iron ore factory miners. And what we've got here, each of those like come all in through here. So just got underneath that 7 belt runs, and in here we've got 20, so 6 lots of modular frames being made. So each setup is basically a replication of each other. So we've got 4 miners at the bottom taking in raw iron ore, converting them to ingots. One comes out, gets split into 2 constructors, making screws at a 250% overclocking rate to produce 250. The middle one, or the second one only goes straight to the middle to a set of 4 constructors, also making screws, but this time at 140%, so making 70 each for a total of 280. Then the last two get an iron ingot feed each, and are running at 225% to make 45 plates per minute each for a total of 90. The screws from that setup, those two, and the plates come into this assembler, and that is making reinforced iron plates using the bolted iron plate recipe, alternate recipe, which makes 15 a minute. That then's fed straight out of that into this other assembler, which takes the screws from those four constructors and to make the bolted or modular frames with the bolted frame assembler at 200. On the recipe, sorry, at 200% to make 10 a minute. That's been replicated there, there, and there. So now we've got a total of 60 modular frames being made a minute on this particular floor. In terms of the iron ore inputs, that is a pure. That is a. I think all three of these are pure, if I recall. Let's get a fly mode here. I believe all three of these are pure. Yep, pure. I believe this is a pure as well. Pure. And I'm pretty confident this is also pure. So 3 pure iron ore nodes there. And each one of those is basically feeding a set of 2 of these sets. We've got 6 sets or 3 sets of 2. So this closest one goes all the way down to those first 2, the 2 on that side, those 2 in that corner. This one comes down here and does these 2. That one does that one, that set there, and also that set there. So that's the layout of that, and that's the modular frames done. So the next thing is to going to build obviously get this up and running, which is to power up all of the machines. I'll put a roof on it, put a roof on this floor. I'm going to try and keep the platform, this particular floor, to this size. I started with a 20 by 20 grid. I've managed to fit this in a 20 by 16 grid. So I've put the corner walls in that corner and in that bit, ignoring this 4 on the end here, little notches that remind me. So I'm going to try and build the rest of the floor on a 20 by 16 grid. So keep it to this floor, this floor size. Yeah, so build a flat, build a logistics level, build the next level. On the next level, we're going to combine and use these coal and iron ore runs in here to make the foundries we need for the pipes and steel beams. Combine that with those 2 limestone runs I've got, so also got in here to then make industrial beams. Then the only thing outside of that we need to then do is over here. That guy is going to feed the iron ore that's going to make the screws, the per machine screws. That's 200 per minute per manufacturer, and that will then complete this, or complete the making of the raw ingredients, the raw materials, or the manufacturing materials. Put another floor on top of that. So hopefully just be on the next floor would just be all of that, case industrial beams and steel pipes, and the screws we just talked about over there will be on the next floor. Floor above that will be the 6 manufacturers, plus local storage, and then be fed into the drone port I'm going to put between this building and the building I'm currently setting up. And that'll be the 3 drone ports moved from over there to the middle to allow heavy modular frames to get droned into the main factory. So next step, as I said, put a roof on, put a logistics layer, create a logistics layer, and start laying out the setup for all of use all these feeds and the screws here as well. So this building took about 3 to 4 hours to put together. So it took a fair bit of time to put it together, but I'm actually really happy with how it came out. So if we come underneath, so underneath is all of the pathing for each one of them. But this, that there, and that there is the outbound of the final modular frames. So I turn back on my efficiency checker, and I just stick that out there, and I go, oh, we've got injected input of 60 modular frames a minute, which is the target. So the only thing will stop that from being right is if I can't feed the iron ore to it, which should be more than enough because the iron ore requirements for each set of two is 535 ore a minute, and with it being a pure node with a Mark III miner on it, I can go to 780 without a problem. So, and all three are the same. So, iron ore shouldn't be a problem. So yeah. So next time we come into this next bit will be when hopefully I've got the next level built and all of that set up for the encased industrial beams and the steel pipes and the screws on the next level all built. So I got a bit carried away and basically finished this entire build. I was going to go back after doing this in bits and pieces, but as is what this game does, I went and basically finished it. So what you're looking at in front of you is 4 layers or 4 levels of production to make heavy modular frames. It's got multiple input sources. I'm really happy with the way this build turned out. It sort of came together in a bit of an organic way, but once it sort of started to take a bit of shape, so to speak, it really turned out well. I really like the look of it. Oop, I've missed a few bits. Quickly go through what we've got here. So we've got 1, 2, 3 sources. They're all iron ore. And then at the back here, we've got underneath there is 7 conveyor belt runs, more iron ore, bunch of coal over there, limestone and iron ore, and one more iron ore there and the limestone here. So what you end up with is now this massive wall at the back. The conveyor belt runs that are all those that I talked about. On the outside of it, you've got limestone, next in is iron ore, 3 in the middle are coal, and they all feed in to the various levels. So in here is where all of that no, wait a second, I've got one more level below this. No, I don't. Oh. So here we've got, underneath here, we've got iron ore coming in from there, because this is just making iron ore based things. The first thing we've got is a whole bunch of splitters, a whole bunch of smelters, sorry. So this is making iron ingots, goes into here to make iron plates. This thing combines, this is like a set of 4 here. This is the very bottom level. You might have seen it in the very early part of this episode without the roof on. So that's making reinforced iron plates. 6 sets of that for a total of 60. Which is then made into reinforced iron plates. Sorry, goes into here to make modular frames. And there's 6 of them, making 10 each, so we've got 60 modular frames a minute going up through here. Next up, above this floor, we have, I need to go back out here. So on the next floor, we have this is where all that coal and iron ore is. This is making beams. This is making pipes and encased industrial beam. So back here we've got this is basically one half. It's another half there doing exactly the same thing. In the middle is just 3 foundries making steel pipes. Those 3 make iron steel ingots, fed into these 6 constructors to make steel pipes. Over here we've got 6 foundries making steel ingots again, fed into these 4 constructors which are making steel beams. Over on to the right hand side we've got 4 constructors making concrete from limestone. They then those set of 4 beams being made there, then concrete made there, feed into this and this assembler, which is making encased industrial beams. That then repeats on the other side. So these 2 are making encased industrial beams, and they are fed on this one here. So you've got modular frames at the bottom, in the middle, steel pipes from back there on that right hand side, and the steel beams and the modular frames in the middle. And then we come up to back here, up this staircase that I created, and this is where we are just making screws only. So this is just making steel ingots, fed into here to make screws, and then that feeds directly into each one of these, each set of pair of smelters and constructors feeds straight into a manufacturer each, which is up on the next level. So we'll head there. Up there is where you got your encased industrial beams, modular frames, steel pipes coming up from below, and they're coming into these 3, so 1, 2 and 3, and then across the back here we've got 6 manufacturers all being fed from the front, and each one of these is making 2 modular frames per minute, and everything's been fed from various places up and below. And we've got a counter there, which means we're right on the 12 minute, which is really good. So I've got all these walkways in place to be able to walk in front of the manufacturers and look at them. Using these steel beams to sort of give it some sort of support. Likewise with these splitters that are splitting in the various materials into the manufacturers, they're also on steel beams to hold them up. You can sort of see it's like this sort of modular sort of going back sort of style. You can walk around the entire building. You've also got, just get way off here, so just go to each one of these each one of the miners is encased inside a sort of a 3x4 sort of building, and then each of the runs is through this same sort of setup. So across here we've got, over here we've got this is a limestone, I think that was limestone. No, it's iron ore. That's limestone, that one. Not 100% happy with the power. I've got to make a little rerun of the power yet. These three over here are coal. And then the last one over there, that's also iron ore. That's limestone. So these basically all feed into the second level for those encased industrial beams production and the steel pipes. Whereas this and that one all fit into this bottom level, which is basically just making the modular frames. So it all requires iron ore. It's just iron ore into iron ore into iron ore essentially all the way through. So yeah, I'm super happy with how this build turned out. As I said, it was a little bit sort of a happy sort of how I found the layout in terms of this sort of sort of way where it could sort of. Oh, this takes the heavy modular frames into this drone port, and that's taking the drone ports away. I've also slightly tweaked this a bit. I haven't quite finished it yet, but now the computers are coming from here. Those three manufacturers are now coming out through here and into this drone port, and taking them both back to the main factory. The middle drone port is bringing batteries in for the other two drone ports. So this all replaced all the stuff that was sort of over there. What I do like about this, I'm just going to go into fly mode here. I just come right back, I'll come back at a bit of an angle. Oops, I've done the wrong command. So that gives you a bit of an impression of how it looks. I'm really super happy with how it's turned out. But if we do, we've now got the drone port lit up by 4 towers, which I think really looks really neat. I haven't quite finished this layout yet, it's probably going to be tweaked a bit. If we come down to the very bottom, there's pretty decent lighting inside each one to light up at night. And then go around the back here, go out here, got lighting in the back there, lighting at the top of those staircases. If we come up this line here, it's a bit hard to tell, but there are in fact, just zoom in here, are in fact lights at each miner. So come into here, lights in here. Lights on this level, all the steel screws have been made, all the screws have been made. And likewise when we come up the very top level, we've got lighting in here to light that up. And if you ever do come out in here, there's lights in the front there. So yeah, I'm super happy with how this build has turned out. It's making 12 a minute, it's quite a fair bit to it. It's basically using all of the materials that are in those various miners that are out the back and out the side there. And yeah, it's just, I'm just super happy with how it turned out. So that's the end of episode 9. Episode 10 is going to focus on the rebuild of the stator production line and the not the stator, sorry, the electromagnetic control rods required for the nuclear generators. Probably before that, I'll do a big cleanup. This is all got to be dismantled. All this over here got to go. Maybe do something with this drone port in the middle. I'm not too sure yet exactly what I'm going to do with it. That's all got to go. All that's got to go. All that's going to go. So all that basically going. I'll just tweak this off a little bit. Put some lights under here, into this one. This is now the top of it, so not too sure what I'll do with it. All that's going to go. All that's going to go. Or dismantle the lot. Because yeah, they're not. Yes, even though they're operational. Considering I've got the 48 nuclear generators, I just don't need these. You can see, so production of the power is dead on. Consumption has gone up considerably. It's probably before I started all this work is probably in the high 40s. Yeah, I've still got enough power to go a long way, but and also got capacity to make the generators more generators. That's not as if it's got a big limitation there. So yeah, the next episode will focus on the rebuild of the electromagnetic control rods, which will finish off. In fact, I'll just jump back to where that's going to be. So that is going to be batteries. So we've got our batteries here. So yeah, this will we'll probably do something with this in terms of finishing it off in terms of the overall structure. Um, this is a battery run that's taking batteries to the various drone ports. Those two drone ports, there's a drone port down the back there. Do like the nightscape they've done in Ultimate Update 6, it's really cool. So yeah, we've got drone ports there taking rods to various places. So the next episode is going to focus on the rebuild and layout of all of this. Not that, that's limestone, that's concrete. So we've got a bunch of smelting, making copper, and then copper going to sheets, and the sheets being combined with Caterham ore, turning into ingots, then into quick wire, then into AL limiters, and then on this side of it, we've got wire being made there, steel pipes being made here from steel ingots, the pipe and wire being combined to make stators, the stators going into these assemblers to make the electromagnetic control rods, which are used to help manufacture, not manufacture, help to get rid of the, help make the one of the materials needed for the um, plutonium rods, uranium rods for the generators, but also it's used in the waste management part of the process. And it's borderline making enough at the moment, so it's something I may look at increasing its production. But that's going to be episode 10. But for now, thanks for watching episode 9 of Solar Factory. I shall see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you. Bye.